A reminder you can help support the channel by joining the AMTV Patreon. You can also follow us and keep up to date on Twitter at AmTV, or if you like, you can join us here at AMTV by becoming a staff member via the YouTube membership programme. Hello, and welcome to the Ident Review Extra, the spin-off show that takes a look at one individual ident each episode and gives it the review it deserves. And this time around, we're embarking on a journey through the ITV Network and all the different regional stations that comprised it. And this time, we're looking at one of the most recognisable companies, Thames Television. Thames was born in a rather interesting way. The 1968 franchise round left certain established ITV companies in the lurch, with ABC losing to London Weekend Television and Rediffusion London angering the ITA through a series of public comments, believing their continuation of holding the London weekday franchise should practically be a given. Not wanting to lose ABC, and I guess take Rediffusion down a peg, the ITA proposed that the two companies essentially come together to form and hold the London weekday licence under a new name and brand. After numerous problems, Thames finally launched towards the end of July in 1968, before being disrupted by network-wide strike action for 2 weeks in August. But that's a story for another day. For now, let's have a gander at Thames, and see how, as the new kid on the block, they would represent themselves amongst their fellow ITV peers.
Rediffusion Television, ABC Television, Thames Television. For 37 years, we have been proud to serve the London ITV region.
Talk about sticking with your concept. I'm sure the first few idents produced by Thames are recognisable to a great many of you, as not only did the company go on to be known as one of the big hitters of the ITV network, but its look became iconic too. In the earliest days, a mere caption displaying "From Thames" was displayed, before thankfully adding some animation, with a hand-drawn image of the London skyline rolling into view. This basic template would last for over 20 years, and to me, it's no wonder that it did. It's an incredibly effective look. The London landmarks are known to people all over the world, so the use of them in an ident is naturally going to conjure up some memorability amongst viewers. The major development came a year into Thames's life, when in 1969, the concept remained the same, but instead of using a hand-drawn image of London landmarks, a switch to photographs was utilised instead. No less to help usher in the full-time colour service that ITV introduced in late 1969. It would be this version of the Thames sequence that would be both the longest lasting and the most recognisable, being broadcast to viewers in London every week up until 1989, well into the age of computer-generated idents. When change finally did come, in 1989, the use of computers was implemented, but arguably not to a very complex degree. The image of the London skyline still remains, now seemingly an inseparable part of Thames's identity. Also retained is the rolling-like nature of the ident, the river now being more animated and wavy, before displaying the Thames branding and the Roman numerals XXI. Now, for those who know their numerals, this represents the number 21. Fitting, as when this ident was seen in 1989, it did indeed mark the 21st birthday of Thames Television. Shortly after, when the first generic ITV branding came into use, it was this newer logo that represented Thames, an indication that the company was definitely looking forward, rather than resort to its 20-year long-standing look. Just 1 year later, in 1990, a new Thames ident appeared on viewers' screens, this time taking us through a quick up-close tour of the London landmarks, St Paul's Cathedral, Big Ben, etc., before setting amongst a cloudy blue sky, in a way harkening back to the classic ident, whilst keeping it looking fresh and modern for a 1990s audience. Originally only seen before regional programmes, this would become the sole ident for Thames in late 1991, up until the end of 1992. For this marks the end of Thames Television as a franchise holder in the ITV Network. The 1991 franchise round was a heated one, and one that brought vast change and upset to many of the long-established ITV names. Thames had been outbid by Ident Television, who would take over the London weekday region on New Year's Day 1993. Thames continued to operate as a production company even well into the 21st century, but its legacy as part of the ITV network will not be quickly lost to time. For almost 25 years, Thames Television brought in a new era for London weekday television. Despite its shaky origins and rocky beginnings, over the 1970s and 80s, they would be responsible for tons of high-quality programming, with their reputation as a company also doing wonders amongst their peers. It seems a shame that their time on air came to an end in the early 90s, another time when British TV was undergoing a massive shake-up, but as their farewell clip says, no matter what name they operated under, they were proud to serve the London region. And from their consistency in their look and the output they produced, it's hard to argue against that claim. Farewell, Thames Television. You may have bid us adieu 30 years ago, but your name and your iconic idents will last amongst TV history for years to come. And so that brings us to the end of another episode of the Ident Review Extra. If you enjoyed this look back at Thames, then please leave a like, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to the channel for lots more ident related content. I've been Adam Martyn from AMTV. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. A special thank you to our patrons for helping to support the show, and a special shout out to Macra, an AMTV staff member. Until the next broadcast, we wish you all a good night.